devastated, $35 in my account, $110,000 in debt, my mom and dad's couch. During that recovery, ACN has put in my life. Got involved with it right away. In spare time, about 14 months.
Mais vous êtes noir, hein?
15 years, and it's been an absolute blessing. My lifestyle's changed dramatically. In 3 years, I went from that existence to a regional vice president in this home. And I went from financial and spiritual ruins to having wealth on a lot of different levels, all because of my experience in this. It was an absolute blessing to put my life when it was. This has been a phenomenal journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage North American Senior Vice President, Mr. Danny.
How's everyone doing this morning? First of all, I feel blessed and privileged to be asked to be on stage today and to Rotterdam and to all our fellow Europeans. Thank you so much for inviting me. And again, I feel blessed and privileged to be on stage with all of you. Thank you very much. For those who don't know me, my name is Dan Volonno. I'm a Senior Vice President. I hail out of Rochester, New York, and North Miami Beach, Florida. And I always like to start out my presentations with a little bit of a joke. And this has to do with reality versus perception. There was a police officer, and he was on the highway, and there was a car in front of him going extremely slow. And he followed the car for a couple of kilometers, and they never sped up, and they were a danger to other drivers, so he turned on his flashers, and he pulled the car over. And he walked up to the driver's side window, and he looked in, and he saw 4 elderly women, probably in their 70s or 80s. And he looked at the female driver, and he said to her, "Ma'am, why are you driving so slow on an expressway?" And she said, "Excuse me, officer, I'm not driving slow. There's the speed limit sign, 50 kilometers per hour." And the police officer laughed. "Ma'am, that's Route 50. You're driving on Route 50. And she looked very confused. And then he looked at the other 3 women in the car, and they looked very agitated, very nervous. And he looked at the female driver and he said to her, "Ma'am, why are your friends so nervous? Why are they shaking? Where'd you just come from, ma'am?" "Well, I'm not sure, officer, but I know I just came off of Route 240. See, reality and perception. The woman's perception of those street signs were not the reality. And with our events, we have to understand perception and reality. See, there are people's perception that they may not need international conventions to be successful here. They may perceive that this is some rah-rah session, they don't have to come. Or they may perceive, well, I've been to one, they're all the same, why do I have to keep going? Well, the reality is there's no way to stay successful in ACN by skipping international conventions. And when you look at ACN events, an event is anything bigger than you and a prospect. A 3-way call, a home meeting or a private business reception, a weekly strategy event, a regional or international event. Anything bigger than you and a prospect is considered an ACN event. And I want to talk to you today about the international conventions, because we have to be aware of what we call stinking thinking. And when I first got involved with ACN, I'd only been in the business 3 weeks, and one of my mentors, Ms. Debbie Davis, was telling me how I had to go to the next convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I remember yesing her, "Yes, ma'am, Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But in my mind, I'm thinking, lady, you're nuts. I haven't even made a check yet, and you want me to go to some convention that's a 12-hour drive. And all the stinking thinking was going through my head. And here's what goes through people's heads when they think about conventions. I can't afford it. I have to work. I have a company to run. I have children. I can't leave my kids. I don't like to fly. I don't like to drive. I have a problematic significant other. These are all the excuses that go through our heads. Stinking thinking. Doubt, fear, worry, hurt. They're not godly. They're thoughts from the enemy. And we have to make sure that when these thoughts come, we have to identify the negative thought. We have to feel that negative emotion. And we must dismiss them with this too shall pass mentality. See, it's important. There are places the I can't is a failure principle. I can is excellent success principles. We have to replace these I can'ts with I can't or I will. And I'm going to go ahead, and I know many of you in this audience do speak English, so I'm going to give you all a little exercise here for a minute. Dan, you just don't get it. I can't afford to go to Barcelona. You know what? Forget that. Some way God will provide me the funds because I'm going. Dan, you just don't get it. I work for a living. I have a job. Well, you know what? I'll find someone to cover my shift because I'm going. Dan, you just don't get it. I run a company. That's a busy weekend for me at the end of June. Well, you know what? That's right. I do run the company. I'm going to delegate because I'm going. I have no idea on God's green earth how I'm getting to Barcelona, but that was an F. Let's try that again. I'll give you a chance to vindicate. All of you that speak English, I need you to help me out here. Let's have some passion. Let's have some vision. Dan, I don't care what you say up there. There's no way I can go. I have 3 children. Well, you know what? I'll bring them with me or I'll find someone to watch them because I'm going. Dan, you just don't get it. I hate to fly. I hate to drive. Well, you know what? I'll carpool. I'll take some Dramamine. I'll do what I got to do. I'll get on that plane because I'm going. Dan, you don't understand my home life. My jealous, insecure, significant other will never let me out of their sight to go to Barcelona. Well, you know what? This time, they're going to deal with it or coming with me because I'm going. Now, here's your chance. I have no idea on God's green earth how I'm going to Barcelona, but much better. Awesome. Now, once you make that decision to go, you have to then promote to others urgency, excitement, passion, strength of language to encourage others to come to the events. And we have to pay attention to the 4 personality traits. This is what we can do. We can utilize the personality traits to excite people to attend the events. We have sharks. Sharks are sharp-dressed, money-motivated, results-oriented. So you have whales that are caretakers. They love to help others. Dolphins that love to have fun. Urchins, detailed, statistically motivated. So here's where you can say to the personality traits. I mean, if you're talking to a shark, man, you cannot believe the speakers you're going to see. They're dressed to the T. These are very wealthy people. They're up there. This isn't a rah-rah session. They're up on that stage teaching you major league wealth principles. You got to check these people out. They're amazing. You'll love it. You're talking to a whale. You're not going to meet thousands of people that you can exchange your information with and help. You can help the Acn charities. We have a charity of choice that we always give money to at the events. If they're a dolphin, Barcelona is a 3-day party. Sleep is optional. Party, 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 party. There's parties every night. Party, party. And if you're talking to urchins, detail-oriented, look at, there's some booths out front for some of the products and services we offer. You can talk to people and you can kind of have those detailed conversations that both your heads explode. And I remember for my first convention, I almost made the tragic mistake of not going. See, when Debbie Davis told me about coming to the first convention, as I mentioned, I hadn't even got my first paycheck yet. And I was very timid on going to that event. And I almost made the tragic mistake of not going. For me, I was surrounded by negativity out of the gate. How many of you in this room have friends or family that talk negative to you about ACN? We all have that in our lives. We call these people dream stealers. And if we're not careful, they can take us out of the game. And a little background on me, and you saw in the video here, I am an optical engineer by education. And I went to work for Kodak in Rochester, New York, back in my early 20s and the 80s. And 2 years into my career with them, I was laid off by Eastman Kodak Company. And I learned early on in my life that job security is a lie. My unemployment benefits didn't pay my bills. And I made a decision to start my own clothing company back at age 24, and I'm 51 now. And I did well and spawned off a modeling agency. By the time I was 29, I had 2 thriving businesses up in Rochester, New York, where I'm born and raised. But I made a second mistake. I never taught anyone how to run my businesses. And a horrible car accident 21 years ago left me on government assistance. And I'm not a fool. I thank God that social services covered my family, but I did not envision spending the rest of my life on public assistance. It was a blessing to have ACN put in my life at that time, and I joined ACN immediately. As I began to attempt to rebuild, and I did ACN spare time out of the gate as I was attempting to rebuild my clothing company back to fruition. And I remember as a result of that, social services took me off benefits, and I had to go move in with my mom at age 31. Here I was at age 31, living on my mom's couch. My children had to go live in a different residence. It was a very difficult time for me when ACN was put in front of me. And folks, my mom could not stand ACN. She worked for Kodak. My dad was a police officer. And all they knew was you go to work, you punch a clock, and you get paid weekly. They couldn't understand a home-based business. If I was tired, I'd get up at the crack of 10. My mom couldn't understand that 2 in the afternoon, I could be doing ACN on the couch in my underwear. She kept saying, go get a real job like your brother. Stop messing around. This ACN thing isn't going to work. You know, this is how bad it got in my household when I was living with my mom and my parents. If someone called and asked for me, she'd say, this better not be about that ACN thing, or I'm not even going to get them. People would knock at the door, ask for me, and she'd say, if this is about that ACN thing, you're not welcome here. Now, she was doing it in the guise of love because she thought I was wasting my time. But it was a very difficult time, and I was at her residence from the time I started ACN till about 3 years later when I hit RVP. And I remember during this time, it was very difficult being surrounded by that negativity. And at the time, I was speaking with Mr. Provenzano and Mr. Raskin, and Mr. Provenzano taught us early on that when you're dealing with negative people, you can put on your Nikes and run away if you need to. Don't go toe-to-toe with negative people. They're going to drain you. Larry Raskin used to say to me, Dan, you run across negative people, get on your ACN steamroller and make them part of the pavement. And I thought about both of these philosophies, but I'm living at my mom's home, so I can't run from mom. And I certainly can't get on my steamroller and make mom part of the pavement. I still love her. And I'll tell you what this company did. The owners are amazing. My sister Alice works for the soap opera General Hospital. She's the head of their wardrobe division. And the weekend in 1998 that I got promoted to RVP in Anaheim, California, my mom, by chance, was visiting my sister 1 hour north. Mr. Provenzano, the owners, caught wind that my mom was up there, and he knew the story. I had been talking to him all along on how to deal with this. And without my